Welcome back, guys, to the web animation series. This is episode 3. We're going to cover scaling and translating objects today. It's going to be a lot of fun. Let's get started. Let's start with something kind of like what we did last time. Let's have an image. Let's give it a class of scale, just so we can show this example. Let's go into our assets, photos. I don't know, what do we want? Any of these people? How about this turtle? That looks like fun. So we grab the turtle picture. And let's do, for all our images, we want to scale them down. So let's do a width of 200 pixels. Give it a margin of 10 pixels. And that's all we really need. Okay, so we have image.scale. And let's do something with hover. Okay, let's go ahead and put our transitions on. Let's just do all 200 milliseconds linear. So that way we don't have to mess with our properties. Okay, so what do we want to happen when we hover? Well, let's first talk about the scale property. Scale is part of transform, so just like we did with rotation, we'll start with transform. And we're going to transform the scale. So the scale is the size of the object. So we'll say scale. And this works in percentages. So scale of 1 is where we're starting at. It's 100% of the original image. If we want to make it larger, we can bump this up. So we can say scale 2. And now if we hover, it gets twice as big. If we want to make something smaller, we go less than 1. So we can do 0.5, and that'll do half the size of the original, just like that. So this can be used to make a cool little animation for a photo album. So let me go ahead and copy this image. Let's make a whole bunch of them real quick. Alright, so let's pretend this is an album with different images, of course. We can do a cool effect here. Let's make them a little bit see-through. So let's do opacity, let's do 0.8. Alright, so they're a little bit light. Now when we hover, let's do opacity 1, and let's scale it up just a little bit, so 1.2. So now when we hover, the image you're looking at kind of pops out. Kind of a cool little effect. Okay, so let's separate these into two sections. We'll have this first section, we'll say this is the scaling. Let's go ahead and make H1 text align center. So we have scale, let's do an HR, and then we'll do an H1 of translate. Alright, so we have our nice scaling going on up here. Let's talk about translation. Let's grab a different image. We'll grab this girl here. So we'll do an image with a class of transition, or translate, sorry. Now let's pull this opacity off of all images and just say image scale opacity. Alright, so we have this image of the girl. If we want to translate it, which would actually move the image on the x-axis or the y-axis, we can do that with the translate. So let's go down here and we'll say image translate hover. So we're going to target this image with the class of translate. We want to do a transform, just like scale, but in this instance we're going to say translate. Now translate takes 2 parameters, or you can just target one specific axis. So if we want to just move it on the x-axis, we can say translate x. Let's do 25 pixels. So now when we hover it, it slides to the right. If we want to translate it on the y-axis, we just say translate y. And just like in the rotations when we were talking about where 0, 0 is, 0, 0 is the top left. So when we give it a positive y value for translate y, it'll actually move down. If you want it to move up, you set it to negative 25 pixels. and it'll jump up. If we take this out, we can say negative 25 pixels, 25 pixels, or let's change it to both 25 pixels. So this will translate it on the X 25 pixels and the Y 25 pixels. And it moves down at like an angle. Pretty cool. So let's just change this back to translate Y minus 25 pixels. And let's just make a bunch of copies of these. So now we have a slightly different effect as you're looking through these images, making them just bump up a bit. And we can even chain on another transformation, like a rotate. We can say 10 degrees. And there's no comma between multiple transforms. There you go. Hope you guys have enjoyed this episode. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe, hit that thumbs up, and I'll see you next time.